I have some parts of a flashlight here that we're going to play around with. And if you have your own flashlight at home, which you probably do, I totally encourage you to just like play around with that and mess with it, take it apart a little bit. A lot of these things more or less work pretty similarly, but I'll at least demo this for you here so that you can see what's going on with this one and answer the related questions. So first thing to note, I don't have any batteries in here quite yet, so let's do that. Let's get those in there. They just kind of sit nicely like this, and let's make sure it actually works. Okay, ta-da! All right, it is working. So what I want you to make some observations of course, is how this thing actually gets to work. And on some level, it's got to work pretty much the same way as we've been lighting our light bulbs so far, in terms of here's my batteries. My bulb is in this. You can see it in there. It's just behind a little piece of plastic. And there's some metal bits on the bottom here. And we need to look around and see what some of the relevant components are so that we can describe how this thing actually functions. So first, let's take some close-ups of my kind of top piece. You'll notice there's this metal ring around here, and then there's this little metal piece that's inside of this black plastic bit. So two pieces of metal here, this piece here, this piece here. When the batteries are placed inside of the flashlight canister, you can see that there's a piece that's sticking up here. When I put my top on it, it appears as if this this little metal piece that's inside of the plastic looks like that's probably in contact with the battery. And it's probably helped out by the fact that my battery has its little like raised end pointing up like that. If I flip over my batteries, I wonder if this would even work. So I've actually flipped them to the other side. Let's see if it would still work like this, if it still is functional. And it actually looks like it doesn't. It doesn't work when you flip the batteries around. And my guess there is that we've lost our contact with this this piece of metal that's right there. So that thing seems to touch. Ideally, it touches the little raised part of your battery. So, okay, there's one thing to recognize. The thing I actually want to look at though is what's going on with the switch. How does the switch get this thing to turn on and off? It's pretty basic. It just has this little switching thing on this side, and then if I look around on what's going on the inside, we'll notice that there's some what looks to be probably copper coil on the bottom, although maybe it's some other metal. That's in turn connected to some other longer piece of metal that finishes out with this, this piece right in here. And what does the switch do? Well, it just moves this piece up and down. Basically, it lengthens the metal component that's inside. So the question then being, why does that turn it on and off? This seems really rudimentary. It's definitely not high tech, folks. Flashlights are not, modern marvels by any means, but clearly this mechanism is sufficient to get this thing to turn on and off. And again, it's got to interact with the batteries as well as the thing that's holding the bulb like this. So, all right, I think we've seen as much as we need to see. There's really not much else to see in this flashlight. That's it. You're looking at it. But your task is going to be to account for and explain for how this thing is working, how it's getting this thing to light, and most importantly, how the heck this switch works and what it's actually doing. You should have the tools at your disposal to answer those questions. And again, if you feel so inclined, feel free to take apart one of your own flashlights and play around with it. My guess is that it's got a pretty similar mechanism overall, although the switches that exist in different flashlights can be a little bit different from one another. This one is particularly basic. All right, that's all you need to see. You are good to go on the questions. Thanks for attending to my little demo videos here today.